approved.
Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, August 18th, 2025 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. Call this meeting to order and pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda's in the back. To sign in. At this point, we'll entertain any public comment for non-agenda items. If you have public comment on anything on the agenda, plenty of time for that later. But if you have public comment for something not on the agenda, now is your chance. Anything coming online? Now we'll move right along to our consent agenda. I'll read through some of the items we have on our consent agenda. We have approval of the August 18th, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. Item B, approval of the minutes of the Monday, August 4th, 2025 regular meeting. Item C, approval to pay invoices from all funds totaling $292,354.63. Now of those, we've got some bigger ticket items I want to call out. We have $40,802 Morgan Stanley for our monthly pension plan. We have $45,186.40 to Lancaster Truck Bodies for truck 2 bed transfer. We have $40,719 to Susquehanna Municipal Trust for workers' compensation. $30,324.20 to Lancaster Area Sewer Authority for quarterly sewer fees. $24,367.13 to 10-8 for Police Durango upfit.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
A motion by Mr. Gallagher, a second by Mr. Ruck. Is there any board questions or comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motion passes. We will move along next to old business. We have item A, 2024-22 Rockdale Parcel 5 Land Development Plan, 35 South Willowdale Drive. Is there anyone here for this item?
Good evening, Chris Narvik with RGS Associates. I'm joined by Peter Burst. I think we're all familiar with your project and the reason why we seeking plan for 5, just depicted there on the screen. I can give a brief recap on the project and dive as deep into the detail as you'd like me to. We do have the review letter dated February 21st from EMA, the township engineer. Already addressed the county comments. We have NPDS approval on the project. One of the reasons why we're seeking a conditional, which we that for sewer water, if I'm familiar with the project. Briefly stepping back, the west side of South Willowdale Drive, 2 proposed buildings. Really, that's ready to be reviewed now. On the east side of South Willowdale, you have the 11 buildings proposed as 352 apartments in parcel 5, the clubhouse and some of the site amenities, walking facilities. So there's been a lot of discussion, obviously, on the pre-state plan on property 30. as well as how we bring that down into the site and back up to Route 30. And then some of the sewer improvements necessary to serve parcel 5 as well, which would be moving more to sewer coverage in a separate plan, which would require a PennDOT permit, upgrade that sewer system to provide service to parcel 5. So that's a very brief overview where the project's at. If you have any specific questions, I'll try to answer those. If you'd like, I can walk through the DMA letter. As well.
For your modifications request.
Maybe the easiest thing to do is we can go into more for the DMA letter of February 22nd. For the first modification that was requested as part of the plan was a waiver of preliminary plans that's recommended to be granted by the township engineer. And really that's just a matter of this project was not being phased, we're not proposing any new streets. There's not a subdivision proposed, so that's why I'm requesting a waiver of the preliminary plan. Two separate plans, they essentially. Number 2 is the final plan scale. That's just a function of trying to make sure certain sheets within the plan set are legible. Your ordinance calls out certain sizes such as 10 feet, 50 feet to the inch. We're requesting a modification to allow 60 and 80. Again, to try to capture the entire site on one sheet for legibility for legibility. Number 3 is in regards to sidewalks. This is a modification for the internal sidewalks. So when you're looking at the plan, the parking compounds as identified in your ordinance require sidewalks around those parking compounds. We're asking for a modification of that because there are some parking compounds, particularly on the south side and the west side and the north side, that we don't have sidewalk along those parking spaces. The reason for that is again, parking areas, and in some cases you have essentially duplicate or redundant sidewalks because they'd be running parallel with the edge of the parking route and west front sidewalk. So that's the reason for that modification that is proposed to be granted by the township engineer. Number 4, specific to sidewalks along Vale Road, and this has to do with the spacing of the sidewalk and positioning of the sidewalk along Rockvale Road. We're asking for a modification of that, and specific to bringing the multimodal path down into the site. So it comes down, like you see along the western side of parcel 2, comes down basically right towards perpendicular to Rockvale Road, but then turns east, heads essentially it's a meandering parallel path along Rockvale Road with 12-foot width. That will eventually extend then up to Route 30. So that's why we're requesting that modification. So rather than doing the sidewalk at the typical 5 or 6 foot to 5 branch there. Number 5 is in regards to stormwater management conveyance piping. The ordinance has for conveyance a minimum pipe diameter of 15 inches. We're asking for a modification of that in some areas under the private parking lots. So it's not in any streets, it's under private parking lots, and that's really only in areas where we have essentially roof drains, downspout connections to the overall primary stormwater conveyance systems. That's also recommended to be granted. Number 6 is in regards to street improvements. So you have your required right-of-ways, street widths, sidewalks, curbs, and so forth. Specific to Rockvale Road, we worked many meetings with the township staff on whether or not it's desired to have improvements along Rockvale Road. But racetrack wide. So we're leaving the width alone. And again, going back to in terms of curbing, there is curbing along there today, and we are meandering. Multiple. Right away would be required by township, so that's only there in the event that in the future is needed. It is noted, I should point out, it is noted in the DMA letter to deny that modification and instead be a deferral. But I think that would be covered in the agreement that we're shift for the multi-level pattern. So to say. Number 7, again, sidewalks. This is specific to Department Ridge Road and discussion with the Ridge Road or Rockville Road. Again, that's the improvements for the multiple along 30. There is a note there too, it says, in addition, the applicant shall confirm with the township that the existing sidewalk along Lincoln Highway is adequate. Again, I would refer to the streetscape plan that we proposed on Route 30, where the curving is going to be shifted 2 feet inward, as per the township streetscapes plan, as well as the multiple paths of both 12-foot width and 6-foot width. Number 8 is a traffic impact study. Signed by the township. For that.
Those were originally proposed in your February 14th letter and supplemental letter. At their May 13th meeting to recommend conditional approval. At that time, the board hadn't considered the trail and streetscape agreement, so they moved that to the board to consider. But they also made it conditioned upon the February 21st review letter from David Miller Associates and with taking into account both the modification letter of February 14th and the RGS letter, original letter of February 14th.
The original modification letter date was August 9th and revised February 14th, 25.
So these 2 ones.
Yes,
Addition on these 2.
yes. Did you get that?
I already took care of the other items,
Correct.
and the fee in lieu of parkland and traffic studies.
The in lieu of parkland, the traffic study, the streetscape, those were taken care of in the agreement that you approved last meeting, and the ELSA agreement is being worked on by both the East Lampeter Sewer Authority solicitor and Fernmore's counsel. That is not finalized.
Should we condition on that being finalized as well?
Yes.
So. Additionally, subject to the 2 letters before us and agreement with else. Any other questions from the board or staff?
I don't know.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept 2024-22 Rockville Cluster 5 Land Development Plan at 35 South Willowdale. In accordance with the David Miller Associates letters, the one revised from August 9, revised to February 14th, and the other an additional for February 14th.
It would be the February 21st DMA.
Okay, so I'll modify that to include the February 21st modification letter. And all is subject to a finalized agreement reached with ELSA.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions?
One clarification for number 6 and 7, just as we're not making a motion on all the waivers individually, but referring to the letter. The letter indicates deny and to provide a deferral agreement instead. Just wanted to clarify that those waivers for 6 and 7 will be granted. Because there is a little bit of a difference there with the letters.
That would be Heartland Station and Rockville Road.
That's in conformance with the agreement that came before 2 weeks ago, but just a caveat.
And that's my understanding is the agreement with Elsa. And the deferral agreements. But we don't have it, I don't have the DMA. All we have is the response letter. They're copying what's in that one. DMA.
It's on me.
Yeah.
It was definitely in your electronic.
There either. But unless I'm. Can't open up. Yeah. There. Yes, it's in the electronic packet.
That was under prior agreement. 6 and 7.
6 and 7 were Hartman Bridge Road and Rockville Road. And that was in the agreement under the streetscape and trail agreement. I think I have that name correct of that agreement.
Your comment is just an understanding that 6 and 7 were granted.
Would be granted, yes, that the waivers would be granted for 6 and 7.
Deferral agreements on items 6 and 2, agreement with Elsa. And on the February 14th DMA letter and February 21st DMA letter. That was a clarification. Is that clarifying what you meant, Mr. Thornton? Okay. You understand that to be the motion? Okay. All right, I think we're all clarified on motion before us. Any other final questions or clarifications? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to new business. We have item 6A, 2024-17, goods mulch and land development plan at 2448 Old Philadelphia Pike. Is there anyone here for this item? Come before us.
This is Red Barn Consulting, guys, right, the goods, goods real estate with our, it's a composting retail operation. Earlier this year, they received variance, it was sort of they previously received one, but then during the planning had taken this one out, but they had to come back to them. And now, we've gone through all the necessary requirements. They received their NTPS documents. They have, they're nearly done with their PennDOT permit. One of the last items remaining is an agreement with the township, which, that PennDOT needs in order to finalize their permit. I don't know if you're familiar with the project. Do you remember from the last hearing we were on?
Why don't you give us a quick review?
The Callahan building, they're delivering that barn. They're going to be constructing a retail office space of about 1,000 square feet with some parking behind it. And then further behind that facility will be a large loading shed where they'll store most of the materials that they're going to be selling as retail. Yeah. There are a number of deferrals and waivers we are requesting. I could go over and I can also go over the township engineer's letter from March. Oh, sorry, I believe it will be May 20th. That's fine. The
Do a quick review of those. I don't think we need to go into full detail for each one, but be good.
We've seen, and this is listed. We have the preliminary plan, to have the plan process as preliminary/final. He recommends granting this, condition that the applicant addresses the traffic impacts. That has been addressed through the PennDOT traffic in the city. The second waiver is the sidewalk shall be required along both sides of the proposed street and along each side of the existing street. Supposed to be improved by the township in all residential subdivision zones. The applicant is requesting a deferral of the sidewalk requirement along the entire frontage. Also, after continued discussion, and the deferral request related to the sidewalk installation be granted for the area east of the proposed access drive. So that's the applicant is proposing to install the driveway to the west, install sidewalks and curbing to the west of the driveway, and we are requesting a deferral of this section to the east that goes in front of the existing dwelling. There's a stone wall in front. So at this time, it's not really practical and stuff to install that sidewalk section.
Designed it, correct?
It is designed, yes, and we do have an exhibit for it for if it were to be installed in the future. That was one of the conditions. I wanted us to show that exhibit. Next waiver is all existing streets at the perimeter and within the proposed driveway development shall be improved according to the township specifications. If an existing street is at the perimeter of the development, it shall be fully improved from the right of way on the development side of the street to the center line of the street. If an existing street is shall be improved required by the township specifications. Adequate right of way in accordance with the township specifications shall be set aside for the dedication to the township for all existing streets to be improved. The applicant appears to be requesting a waiver of the road widening and required right of way along the Philadelphia Pipe. Old Philadelphia Pipe is classified as 100-foot right of way, 50 feet on one side. And the PennDOT approved cartway with 8 inches of curb, 5 foot of sidewalk, and a 5 foot grass strip. We recommend that the waiver request related to road widening and the right of way be denied will be granted until a time when East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors directs the a complete deferral agreement shall be submitted to the town for review. We do have a copy of that deferral agreement. We recommend that the provided exhibit be revised showing the constructability of the required frontage and match the HOP. And this relief should be listed as a deferral on the member sheet. The existing PennDOT right of way is 50 feet. The township's right of way. We are proposing to construct it to PennDOT right of way of the 50 foot. However, we have an exhibit showing that it could be extended to the 100 feet. Let's see. It also appears the applicant is requesting a modification of the 5 foot strip requirement and is proposing a 2 foot wide strip that's in between the sidewalk and the curb, which appears to taper to no grass strip where it meets the existing sidewalk on the adjacent property. We recommend that this request be granted and this is a modification on it. The next modification is the curbing shall be required on the street and each side of an existing street required to be improved by the township, the public or private, or along all new parking compounds. The applicant is requesting a deferral of the curbing requirement along the old Philadelphia property frontage. Old Philadelphia Pike is classified as an arterial road. which requires an 8-foot curb. After continued discussion with the township, we recommend that the deferral request be granted for the area east of the proposed access driveway until a time when the East Lampeter Board of Supervisors directs the installation. Complete comprehensive facility. Again, that's similar to what we requested on the side. Comment number 5 is, when available, any and all dates of approvals and conditions opposed to the above request shall be provided on the township. So we will update the plans. So, waivers and deferrals of grants. The HOP provides for the resubmission. The HOP plan provided with resubmission depicts a retaining wall within the right of way. All land development plans shall be revised to match the proposed conditions, including grading and a 6-foot perforated base drain along the proposed 8-inch curb of Oakfield Avenue Pike. The proposed wall height shall be clarified. Our response was that the proposed condition has to revise to match it with the grade and the 16. There is proposed wall height of 4 feet, matching the connection back to the existing wall on the plan. There's a number of comments on the subdivision plan. One is evidence of design and capacity approval from the sanitary sewer and potentially water provider must be provided. Since this letter, we have received sewer approval. Notification from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection that either approval of the sewer facility plan revision or supplement has been granted. Approval is not required shall be provided. DEP has reviewed it. Number 3, notification national security must be provided for all required site improvements prior to upon resolution of all technical comments and opinion of probable cost shall be submitted for review. If required, a separate sewage facility construction cost opinion shall be submitted to Charles Thomas for review and approval. They have reviewed the opinion of probable cost prepared by Red Barn and feel that the $200,523 represents a fair and reasonable cost estimate for site construction costs of this project. A separate sewage facility opinion has been submitted to Charles Thomas of the Public Works Department for review and approval. These values will be combined to generate the total cost. Item number 4, the applicant shall address the open space and greenland provisions. The applicant has stated they intend to pay a fee in lieu of dedication. We recommend that the amount be prior to unconditional plan. Number 5, the improvement deferral agreement that has been provided are not in recordable form. We're recommending the standard template to submit. Resubmitted a deferral agreement that is up for your approval. And then finally, on the stormwater plan, one copy of the HOP and plan and HOP permit application for review and information. We have submitted a copy of the plan, HOP plan to the township and stormwater. Address all the comments. And the approval of the resolution deferrals as well as approval.
Any comments from staff or questions?
Molly, I didn't see a perk fee in lieu of in your response letter.
We did not, I don't believe that we have been provided one or.
The one hasn't been calculated yet.
Is there a standard calculation for that?
There is. Jacob will be happy to
Uh, we're looking for conditional approval based off of the DMA letter from May 22nd. Lancaster County Planning Commission review letter dated June 12th.
That's correct.
That's all the things. And
For the eastern portion of the property frontage, for sidewalk for curbing, deferral agreement for right of way,
agreements for any deferrals, but noted in the letter.
and then for calculation of the park fee in lieu.
And a motion.
Three agreements, a stormwater easement agreement. The deferral agreement, and then the applicant agreement for highway occupancy permit. Okay, stormwater water.
We're required to be a part of those agreements with PennDOT.
Moving to accept the 2024-17 Goods Mulch Land Development Plan at 2448 Old Philadelphia Pike. Conditioned upon the David Miller Associates review letter dated May 22nd and Lancaster County Planning Commission review letter dated June 12th. All the pro agreements as noted and correct submission of park and lieu fee. Did I cover it? Anything else?
If that covers it all.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rutt. Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you all.
That did include, conditional approval of the plan.
Yeah.
See it.
Moving on, items 25-19 Keystone Wood Specialties waiver of land development at 2225 Old Philadelphia Pike.
Associates. Preliminary. Eastern Wood Specialties is looking to do some. They are upgrading their air ducts, filtration systems. This will help staff the air in the building. The only disturbance would really be concrete pads. Other than that, there's nothing taken away. Take away some impervious. Where you browse some of the downspouts to an existing inlet. And some effect.
Tonight, you're looking for a waiver of land development.
Yes. Sorry.
And you'll submit the stormwater plan in the near future. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're looking for a waiver of land development, subject to the applicant's writing stormwater plan.
Motion, Keystone Wood Specialties. Get the address first. 2225 Old Philadelphia Pike. To waive the preliminary / final land development plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rudd, second by Mr. Thornton. Any board discussion, public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Item 7A, supervisor discussion items. Any updates, Kara?
No updates on the token, see the Park Foundation and the Fault Tolerance. I think you all are aware, the Emergency Services Committee meets on Thursday evening, we first at 7 p.m. And so 2 of the 3 will be discussed at that meeting. I hope to come back to your September meeting with.
Okay. Any other items coming forward? Here. Moving on to action items, we'll start with item 8A, public hearing for a zoning text and map amendment and rezoning of properties for integrated business campus. We will now open that hearing. Stack of paper.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Good to see you again. Dwight Yoder from Hess. I'm happy to be here again with Rob and Carol, Craig Smith, and the whole team from Lancaster Archery. While I was listening to your other presentations, I looked back and May 8th, 2023 was the first time we came to you with Lancaster Archery's idea about expanding at their location. So been quite the journey, but I'm pleased to finally get here. I thought I'd just quickly go through kind of what this is about. I know you're familiar with it, but since this is the actual public hearing, I think it's important just to recap everything that we're proposing and it's in front of the board. So there's really 2 purposes of the petition. One is to amend the zoning ordinance to add a new principal use for an integrated business zone. That would be allowed in 3 zoning districts, the light industrial, the general industrial, and the business park. And then the second part of it is to rezone tracts of land that adjoin Lancaster Archery to the west to allow them to basically have an integrated business campus. I think the board is well aware, but I'll just kind of quickly go over. Lancaster Archery was started by Rob and Carol in 1983. They're both long-term residents of the township. Lancaster Archery provides high-quality archery products and services to meet the needs of both local archers, national archers, and across the world, including Olympians. They're very well known. Rob and Carol, I don't know if you want to think about your business, how it's grown and developed, and what you do, but now would be your chance if you want to say a few things.
It's bittersweet having to considering tearing the house down that we've been in for almost 30 years. Raised our kids there, and it's a bittersweet moment, at least for me.
But we've been looking for property that we can develop a pro shop somewhere else, and we like our location on Old Philadelphia Pike. It's very convenient for our Amish community customers, as well as, it's a nice location from 30. So after we've probably been looking for about 8 years and not really able to find anything in the township that we like better, there's not a lot of opportunities and we don't really want to move out of the township. So we've come to the conclusion that this is the best way to expand. And it will give us the opportunity to have a larger pro shop, and it'll also give us an opportunity to expand the academy, which we can then teach more archers. And we can have more classes, and we can also do more seminars and invite larger teams in to train at the facility as well. So we're looking forward to the expansion, and yes, it is hard to give up our home, but we still get to stay on Old Philadelphia Pike. We're 2 doors down.
I will just add that, I've been representing clients for over 25 years. I think this is the first time folks have been ready to tear their house down in order to expand. And I think it just shows, A, how committed and dedicated they are to the business, and also how much they like to be in East Lampeter. And I think that reflected as well, and just how good of a process this has been, even though it's been, over the course of a couple of years, been a collaborative effort with township staff, and we felt the supervisors had supported trying to find a way to make this work. local businesses. So hopefully you understand that. I don't know if you have the petition. I do have handouts that I can provide. Of some of the exhibits here that I'll go over.
Yeah.
You have that? Okay, yeah, they were attached. Always bring an extra copy just in case, and Craig has the board will go over the plan. But let me just show you just a couple of exhibits here, in terms of kind of where things are located, and that will help just, I know the board's familiar with the location, but the current property is zoned, I1 and R2. It's kind of has that reverse L shape to it. And what they'd really like to do then, as the other exhibits show, is incorporate the existing archery range that's over here, draw a line here, and make this all I1. And then with the integrated business campus use, it would give them the ability to essentially develop this to support both their retail, office, and their academy use, which includes not just training, but they do have competitions, tournaments, events that they bring in local and archers to come in for competition. So it will essentially allow them to continue what they're doing, but give them the room they need to accommodate the growth. I think the board knows, but I'll just highlight again that they have a warehouse facility in Leola that they are maintaining. So that's not changing. This is going to be their retail component. The warehouse facility does a lot of their mail order. Most of the things that come here on 340 come in Sprinter vans, box trucks from the warehouse. So you're not getting the heavy 18-wheel deliveries coming in. That's all going out to Leola. So you're getting the best of both worlds. I think you're getting the smaller type of trucks coming in, but you're retaining the retail and the academy. I'm not going to go through the specifics of the integrated business campus unless there are questions, but that was developed after a couple of iterations and feedback from township staff. There are provisions in there to try and be sure that the adjoining residential properties have some protections from noise and activity. And I'm not really worried about Lancaster archery, but because this use would be allowed in other zoning districts, you want to be sure you have the right protections in place. So some of those were developed. There are parking requirements that were developed again with input from the township staff and township engineer. We think they all make sense. Of course, they're going to have to go through a whole land development, and just looking out, driving in tonight, seeing all the activity over there, of course, PennDOT's involved. So you'll be seeing them a lot over the next few years, but until they get the zoning in place, they really can't do it. Pretty much stuck there. I will say that I'm going to have Craig go over kind of the sketch plan, just so you have an idea of what they're proposing. The Township Planning Commission reviewed and unanimously recommended approval, and the County Planning Commission last Monday reviewed it, and they also unanimously recommended approval. And I just like to read one comment because I think it's helpful for you to hear some of that feedback and maybe written, but basically they indicated that this is consistent with all the comprehensive plans, and they also noted that this is consistent with the idea of trying to find infill development for commercial and industrial uses. As the board knows, the low-hanging fruit is long gone in Lancaster County. There are no easy development options anymore. So now we're dealing with more complicated things. And so finding these types of infill development really is what we're left trying to do. And sometimes it gets kind of complicated because you got to weave through the zoning and the land development. But, ultimately, I think this is a really good solution for oyster archery. As Rob and Carol said, we've been at this a long time trying to find a place. And when we finally concluded where they're at, makes the most sense. So with that, Craig, I'll have you just give an overview. And then we'll happy to open it up for any questions.
Good evening, Craig Smith with RGS Associates. Just as an overview, and this is in your packet, the area to be rezoned is this hatch area to the west. And so these are currently properties that are in the light industrial district. This will be converted from R2, or is proposed to be converted from R2 to the light industrial that goes over in that direction, approximately 5 inside. And just a brief overview of the intent. And I think we were before the supervisors, the same sketch that we had prior. And really, the intent is to build a new building out by Old Philadelphia Pike. One of the challenges is the visibility of the building that sits in the back currently. And so there's about a 25,000 square foot building that is proposed 2-story building that's primarily needed for the retail. There's 19,000 or so square feet of retail that are, so it's part of that. This building will be retained largely for the academy use and for the archery use, some office space. As Rob had mentioned, the existing home will be torn down. Middle of the project here, or the middle of the property, there's a building out front here, the old Leroy's building that will be demolished as well. And so new retail building, existing is going to stay. There's about 180 parking spaces that are proposed as part of the project. And then the entrance is going to intended to move slightly to the west. We understand through initial traffic studies that there will be a left turn lane warranted. And so these improvements for the left turn lane widening will be, the front end will be part of it. And we have filed a scoping application with PennDOT. So that's starting. There's obviously stormwater management that has to happen as part of the NPDS permit and meeting the township requirements, public sewer and water as well. So that gives you an idea. Obviously, we're just starting into more detail. This will be refined. We'll be back in front of you with a land development plan that has a refined design as part of this. But just as an overview, this is really what's intended. Any questions?
I think that's all we have. Again, I just want to reiterate, we really appreciate collaborative effort with township staff and the board. And we thank you for your consideration of these.
Okay, any more questions from the board? Any public comment? Now's your chance.
We've been a good neighbor.
All right, I believe we got some good neighbors. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Close the hearing?
Second by Mr. Gallagher. Any public comment on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. I'll now entertain a motion on the proposed zoning amendment.
The motion to accept the zoning amendment as proposed for the integrated business campus. I think we know what address we mean. All right.
It should really be a zoning text amendment and a rezoning with a map amendment.
So those be separate actions?
It can all be part of the same.
To accept the public, the zoning text and map amendment and rezoning of properties for the integrated business campus.
Or one clarification, do you have an ordinance number that you typically?
It'll be the next one that's available.
I'll second. Motion by Mr. Thornton, a second by Mr. Gallagher. Any questions or clarifications? All right, any public comment on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let the work begin. Good, we'll see y'all again. Big time. The big move's done now on all rooms. Okay, we are moving on to item 8B. A resolution to purchase property with an address at 89 Strasburg Pike for $482,600.
Is the Hauser property, which the township has had an agreement with the family to purchase this property, which is basically a circle within Flory Park. We've received the sales agreements as of Friday from all four children of Mr. Bob Newhouser. And this resolution will authorize the township manager to act on behalf of the township in the purchase of the property.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that, we approve the township manager spending $482,000 to buy the new Hauser property, which has been under discussion for a good number of years.
Motion by Mr. Wright, there's a second. Second by Mr. Gallagher. Any comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed or abstentions, the motion passes. Now, how are we going to pay for it? We'll move on to item 8C.
So this resolution, because the agreement was enacted upon the death of Mr. Newhouser and no one could anticipate that, we now need to amend the budget for 2025 and the funds would come from the capital reserve. And again, that number is $482,600. And that number was calculated based on the agreement, which was the appraised 95% of the appraised value.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the budget, 2025 budget, to spend $482,600 from the capital reserve fund.
Motion by Mr. Wright, second by Mr. Thornton. Any comment? Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions, motion passes. Moving on to item 8B.
Two items. I'll talk about one, be two separate actions. And this is the acknowledgement of the Ag Security Area Declaration. There are two ways to go about this. You can acknowledge it, you can then property, you can forward it to the Planning Commission, you can hold a public hearing. That is option number one. The next option is what's called the 180-day option, and that is accepting the declaration, waiting 180 days and doing nothing, and the property becomes part of the Ag Security Area here in the township. Both of these, or excuse me, all three of these properties, because the second one is actually two parcels, are adjacent to the existing Ag Security Area in East Lampeter Township. Did confirm this method with the Lancaster County Agricultural Preservation Board staff, and this is the one of the methods. The first method that I described to you, of course, has a cost to the township. The second method does not. And so obviously the second method has been one that the township has used in the past, but it is your decision. And the last one was 2016.
What's the negative of using the second method, the zero?
The applicant waits for 180 days.
What type of cost? Just out of curiosity.
To hold a public hearing. So there's advertising costs, there's stenographer costs.
fine doing it as we've done it.
Anything else there? Make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the agricultural security area declaration from David Denlinger for account number 310918820000.
Motion by Mr. Thornton. Second by Mr. Rudd. Public comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Same for item 8E. Entertain a motion.
Motion to acknowledge receipt of agricultural security area declaration from David, Judith, Rebecca, and Jonathan Denlinger for account numbers 3103-300000 and account number 3105-2282-00000.
Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rudd. In public comment, board comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Good to see more farmland in the process of getting preserved. All right, we'll move on to item 8F, reappointment of Richard Robinson to East Lamp Peter Township Sewer Authority for a term ending September 7th, 2030.
Robinson has agreed to be reappointed. He currently serves as the chair.
Any motion?
Motion to reappoint Richard Robinson to the Napier Sewer Authority with a term ending September 7th, 2030.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gallagher. Any public comment? Board comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those are abstentions, motion passes. Next, we have item 8G, reappointment of Todd Stump to East Lamp Peter Township Sewer Authority for a term ending September 7th, 2030.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Todd Stump to the East St. Peter Township Sewer Authority, term ending September 7th, 2030.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gallagher, second by Mr. Rudd. Public comment, board comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motion passes. I believe I said we needed to be at 7:59 for Mr. Friedlander for item H, pension assumptions. We are right on schedule. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Friedlander.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being flexible. Greetings from Seven Springs. I'm at the County Commissioners Conference, and there's a lot of eating and drinking. I wasn't trained for this. So I made a little slideshow. If I put something up, can everybody see it?
You put it up yet?
No. How about now?
See something, there you go.
Okay, terrific. Well, thanks for having me. I don't want to take a lot of your time, so I'm basically just going to get right to the issue that Tara has asked me to discuss, and then I can field any questions. Incidentally, get in touch with Tara. I gave a longer presentation to her and Kevin in Hutch a month or so ago, so there's a longer unabridged version of this presentation if you'd like it. So we have a good problem here. Over the last several years, the pension funding has improved dramatically due to a couple of things. A lot of it was good investment experience, and a lot of it was managing the liabilities. We're at the point where township contributions are not required. As a matter of fact, the state aid is being reduced to the amount we need to fund the MMO. So the township contributions are going to be zero or very small. And the thought is that maybe we shouldn't be leaving all this state money on the table. And so one of the things that we had discussed, and I had run the numbers on this, is to lower the valuation interest rate from the current 7%. And by doing that, it'll make the cost go up. And again, you'll see the impact of that. I'll show that in a second. But the other thing it does is that it means that the investment managers don't have to take as many chances. They can de-risk your portfolio a little bit if, again, for lowering the interest rate. So here's where we are at January 1st, 2025. The actuarial valuation is like a snapshot that we take once every 2 years. And if you look, the actuarial accrued liability is less than the assets. The assets aren't quite as big as the total present value. If you had the assets equal to that, you'd never really have to make a contribution against. But we're in a very favorable position. And the reason is you can see this, that the funding ratio, and here the red is the actuarially smooth, and that's the one I want to focus on because the market value is much more volatile, and that's why we smooth. But you can see since 2010, we've come from less than 90% funded to around 110% funded, a gradual increase over time. The non-uniform plan is a very similar situation. There's assets that are greater than the actual accrued liability, and their funding percentage has increased over the years. Again, they were down in the low 90s, and again, gradually improved as time goes on. Again, it goes up and down, but the plans are both very strongly funded. And here's what that does to your contribution. Okay, the first column is the actual 2025 MMO. And that was based on the previous valuation at January 1st of 23. So the valuation, the new results show decreased costs. Okay, from the first to the second column. That's merely the impact of experience between 2003 and 2005. Then if we drop the interest rate, valuation interest rate from 7 to 6.5, you'll see the costs go up a little, and if we to 6.75, and if we drop it further to 6.5, you'll see it goes up a little more. So what does this do to the contribution? Well, you see that again, from the first to the second column, we're seeing a decrease and again, these show three things. These show the member contributions, the funding adjustment. Because the plan is overfunded, we can reduce the contribution by 10% of that overfunding. And it shows you that from 1/1/23 to the 1/1/25 valuation, the costs have decreased enough that we'll need 80,000 less state aid than we're getting now. Now, if we bump the interest rate down to 6.75, you have a little contribution of about $19,000. That's assuming again that the state aid unit value doesn't increase, and it generally increases 4, 5, sometimes even 8% a year. So if we get a 4% increase in the MMO, it'll wipe that out. And then you'll see if we decrease if we decrease the interest rate to 6.5, we have a much larger township contribution of about 167,000. We look at the same impact on the non-uniform plan, which is called the defined benefit plan. You see a little decrease from the first to the second column, representing the updated valuation at 2025. Then as we progress to 6.75 and 6.5, the costs increase. But it's still going to get covered by state aid. It just means the non-uniform plan would use a little more of it. So again, there are no contributions to the non-uniform. So if we're looking at any township contributions, it's going to be that 19,000 if we go to 6.75. And finally, I kind of want to sum it up like this. The 2004 state aid unit value should have been about 655,000. Okay, that's how much state aid you're eligible for. Okay, the 2025 actual MMO is under 600,000. If we don't make any changes, it's going to drop to around 510,000. That means at this point you'll be leaving 140,000 of state aid on the table. At 6.75 interest, again, we're looking at a very, very small contribution. So that's my presentation. If, are there any questions? I believe the recommendation from Tara was to drop it to that 6.75% so that the township would have a zero or minimal contribution. And again, we're getting that state aid, which again, in the long run is going to help fund the plans because there'll be more money in them.
So the recommendation was to maximize the amount of the state aid that we should receive in
Correct.
in future years. And by doing that, with a potential small contribution from the township for the police only, we wouldn't leave any of the state aid funds on the table as we have this year.
So when you say this year, you're talking 2025.
Yes.
It won't really impact the state aid till 2026.
Right.
So is that the name of the percentage when we say the pension assumption?
It's the actuarial valuation interest rate assumption.
To determine basically whether we're fully funded or not, it's based off an assumption that our investments will continue to make 7% or greater.
Right.
This would lower that to 6.75 or greater.
So I fully applaud the movement of reducing from 7%. This has been a pulpit of mine for going on 12 years that we should not have had a 7% assumption rate for a long time. So I recommend going as low as possible. Definitely 6.75 is a great place to start. I'd love to get down to 5. It de-risks our portfolio, makes it, I mean, at the end of the day, a pension to me is, we're looking at our public pensions, which is mainly our police force, and saying, when you retire, we're going to give you a defined contribution. And the current formula that says whether we're fully funded is not an accurate portrayal of whether you're going to get paid. And it's a massive issue at the state level with our teachers' pensions and other public pensions. Formulas, it's one of you just keep bumping up your assumption of you're going to get more money in your investments, and then that forces your investment portfolio to make riskier and riskier investments. And as long as everything goes smoothly for the next 10 years, it's going to work out like magic in the next 20 years. Or you can pay now and say, because basically at 100% funding rate for a pension with a 7% assumed rate of return, your odds of getting paid $100 if you're owed $100 is a coin flip, 50-50 of actually getting paid. That's 100% funded. So we're at 100% funded. We're one of the best in the state. We're doing great compared to everyone else. But I'd err on the side of more conservative investments, a little more contributions on our ends to make sure that our folks we promised we're going to give money to can actually give money to. So that's my opinion. Is I'll go along with the board for as low as you want to go.
Well, don't change your pension law in the middle of the night either.
Yeah,
Law school.
we could go on into pieces for another couple of hours, but luckily this is the one that we can control, and we have to pass a budget on time or in this town.
Well, this decision and the numbers on this will be the basis for the 2026 minimum municipal obligation that Tara's going to present to you in September.
For budget meeting, yep.
So I'll make a motion to change the actuarial value on the rate of return for our pension assumptions for 2026 to 6.75%.
I'm sorry, at 1/1/2025, that's the valuation date.
So it has to be 2025.
Yes.
Amended to the year 2025, my motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Thornton, second by Mr. Rudd. Any questions, clarifications, comments? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? The motion passes.
Chuck,
Thank you. Chuck, enjoy the conference you're at.
I will. It's lovely up here in the mountains, and they're very hospitable here at Seven Springs because anybody who wants to spend money here when there's no snow on the ground gets treated like a king. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a terrific evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Moving on to item 9, managed report, MS4 update.
So I am extremely pleased to tell the board that DEP has finally approved, after 2 years of going round and round, the revolving water fund, which will implement MS4 credit projects on agricultural properties in the urban area or just outside the urban area. This was tedious and cumbersome, and I applaud the staff that worked for the revolving water fund because they have been in this as much as township staff. So subsequently, the revised pollution reduction plan has been submitted to DEP.
That's good news. All right. Anything else from staff?
Nothing further tonight.
Any public comment? Good to see. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. By Mr. Gallagher, second by Mr. Thornton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.